On today's show, the Bucks bounced back from a disaster against Boston to pick up a really, really important win at home against the Sixers. Did Giannis make an MVP statement? I'm not sure, but he was dominant in this game. Jrue Holiday locked down James Harden in his stretches. Bobby Portis was awesome off the bench. And overall, maybe this is the win that Bucks fans needed to just feel a little bit better after a difficult night a couple nights ago. Let's break it all down.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Bucks. My name's Kane Pittman. You can see and hear me on this show Monday to Friday, and also find my work over at ESPN alongside me, the founder of brewhoop.com and longtime voice of the podcast, Frank Madden, for today's episode that is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. And as always, we thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first watch or first listen of every weekday. I was just telling Frank this. I said this the other night. There is nothing that is better for business than a disastrous Milwaukee Bucks loss, because YouTube absolutely went bananas over the weekend. We normally get, 100, 150 comments per show, depending on what happened. A few debates might break out. 600 comments after this loss to Boston. There were some fans that were freaking out. There were some fans that were feeling okay. There were some fans that wanted Mike Budenholzer shot into the universe and never to be seen again. It was a wide range of emotions after this show. But we thank you all for joining us. And if you're listening on the audio platform and you just want to say something, ask a question, YouTube is the place to do it. So jump over there, check it out, drop a like, subscribe, comment, and all those things. It's free to do so, and we really appreciate it. I mentioned at the end of that intro, Frank, that maybe this was a win that Bucks fans needed because they've been playing so well for so long. But there's been some troubling performances against better teams. And like you said the other night, you don't want to use the schedule as an excuse, but there's different reasons for that. But you ended the show the other night saying there's no excuses for Sunday night. Both teams are going to be healthy. Go out there and get the win. And for the most part, it's a 117-104 win in the end. For the most part, this was pretty comprehensive. And the players that you want to see play well against the best teams got it done. Giannis was awesome. Jrue was awesome. And the usual contributors as well. It was a good win, a really good win.
Yeah, comprehensive. I think pretty good way to describe it. And I think it was probably in a weird way when you think about, what it means and, the cosmic significance of it or whatever. I kind of like the fact that the Philly actually came back, right? I mean, the Bucks get out to, what were they, 8 for 8 to start the game. It looked like a team that was very much locked in after that Thursday debacle against the Celtics. And obviously you love to see them come out with that degree of purpose. I think the first shot they missed, they got to put back on right away. So, they came out shot like they were out of a cannon. And, I think, what was it, 41-26, I think, after the first quarter. And, Tyrese Maxey was kind of just doing Tyrese Maxey stuff. I swear, like, he shoots like over 40% from three. He takes difficult threes. According to what I see, he must shoot like 60% on threes. And what was he, 6 of 7 from three tonight? He was really, really good for the Sixers. But they needed that because I thought, the other two star guys for Philly, Joel Embiid, 11 for 25, 28 points. You'll take that every day and twice on Sundays defending a guy that came into this game averaging 33 points. He's been at 65% this year, but Brook Lopez's tactics against him is, hey, I'll give you the lightly contested, 13 to 18 foot shot. I'm not going to foul you. Just 5 for 5 from the free throw line. He's a great free throw shooter. He can get the other team in foul trouble. So they kept him off the line. He missed a bunch of threes. And overall, you were able to contain a guy that obviously is right there at the top of the MVP odds. And Harden, meanwhile, I thought it was really interesting. I mean, you mentioned Jrue Holiday on Harden. Harden was awesome the last time the Bucks played Philly. He was huge. I think one of the stories for him this season is that he has looked like he's had a little bit more pep in his step than he had last year. But he's been dealing with, an Achilles injury. He's missed some games lately. I did not see the level of burst from him in terms of, driving to the basket and, really putting pressure on defenders. We saw the Bucks, at various points. I mean, there were switches. He had different guys on him. I think he had one step back in Giannis's face, but for the most part, he really did not look like he was really comfortable attacking in the way that we saw last game. And, all told from him, just for 9, I think, from the field, really wasn't, again, kind of at his best, what we've seen from him at various points this year. And obviously you just give a ton of credit, to the Bucks defenders as well, starting with Jrue Holiday, who had 4 steals, was very efficient tonight, scoring the ball 18 points on 11 shots. But, Harden scoring 11 points on 9 shots, only 6 assists and 5 turnovers. At various points, they sent extra bodies at him to try to make him give up the ball, 30, 35 feet from the basket. And it didn't feel like the Sixers ever really got into a rhythm being able to make the Bucks pay when they did show those extra bodies to James Harden. So I think just in general, really solid game plan against Philly. Kind of set our Tucker, of course, some other guys are maybe going to get more corner threes. Bucks don't give up many corner threes. I think we saw probably more of those tonight, just given the way the Bucks were sort of choosing to defend Philly. But yeah, just really good performance. And I think, Giannis, it's obviously he had this chance, right? We talked about the 3 games against Philly, Denver, Boston, for him to make the MVP push. Could he make statements in those games? I mean, he didn't play like particularly poorly across those games necessarily, just wasn't quite at his best, at least consistently, sort of, for 48 minutes. And I thought tonight, aside from the foul trouble, which kind of came about a little bit by surprise. I didn't realize he had 3 fouls, and he picks up the 4th midway through the 3rd quarter. And I thought the key move here was Bud bringing Giannis back with 4 fouls inside of 2 minutes in the 3rd quarter. And that was, Philly got to within 77-73. Bobby Portis, who was great tonight, hit a 3. And they had a couple key plays where they basically turned it from, I think, 77-73 to like, I think 85-75. Joe Ingles hit a really big 3 after a scramble. Brook Lopez defending a Joel Embiid drive. Kind of loose ball, could have gone either way. Ingles hits a 3 to make it 10. And then Giannis closes out the quarter against the Sixer bench really strongly. We've seen him do this before. He did this last year in that monster 40-point game. He just basically annihilated the Sixers when they kind of rested the starters, and he scores the last 7 points in, I think, the last 78 seconds or something like that. 3-point play, then immediately driving length of the court for a 2-for-1, and then, just abusing McDaniels on that awesome dunk with 0.9 seconds left. That gave the Bucks that 14-point lead, and they really didn't look back from there. So yeah, I mean, I think just kind of top to bottom, like the key guys for the Bucks came through, did what they needed to do. Middleton seemed kind of quiet after that hot start, but 19 points, 9 assists on 14 shots. I mean, hard to complain about that. And Brook Lopez also another big night against, a guy in Joel Embiid, who I think the Bucks like to attack, to be honest. I think they like to make him work defensively, and we saw Brook Lopez, among others, doing that as well. So, as you said, just a really comprehensive win. They needed a performance like this, and they took the Sixers' best shot there in the 3rd quarter, and were able to close it out, and obviously keep that 2-loss cushion against Boston going. And obviously now just 4 games left.
I agree on the point you made about the challenge from Philadelphia was a nice one to ride out, just because we had seen the 4th quarter the last time these 2 teams played. And also, I was scrolling through Twitter as that was happening. The Bucks came out flat. They were settling for some 3-point shots. I do think that Philadelphia came out to make a response after halftime. So there was a bit of both. I don't want to just blame the Bucks for the offensive struggles there to start the period. And there was just some tough shots made from the Sixers. But to be able to respond mid-quarter, I think is nice, because that was what they were unable to do last time these 2 teams played. So a pretty good challenge. Philadelphia are just really good. It's going to be rare that you have a night like Boston had the other night against Milwaukee, which was why it was so jarring, because that's not normally the way it works. These 18-point leads are not what they used to be in the NBA. So I thought, pretty good mental stuff from the Bucks to be able to ride that out and then get back on track offensively. We'll talk more about Giannis and Jrue as the show goes on. And I think we should give some love to Bobby Portis as well, because I thought he was really good offensively and sort of picking his spots and getting to the areas that he knew he was going to be able to score against this team. We'll talk about Prize Picks before we do that, though. And if you're not aware about Prize Picks and how it works, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So points, rebounds, steals. Maybe it's Jrue Holiday. If you took the over on steals tonight, 4 steals, you're going to be feeling pretty good about that decision. So go check it out at prizepicks.com. It doesn't have to be just basketball, by the way. There's all sorts of different sports that you can get into. MLB is back. I think the Brewers have picked up a couple of wins. So you can go check that out. NHL, golf, college sports, everything is there. It's safe and fast and easy to use and operational in over 30 states and Canada as well. So download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. That's PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy. Just when you talk about pivotal moments in this game as well, and maybe this feels a little less important than that final 2 minutes of the third quarter because the Sixers had made a bit of a run, and that was when the Bucks were able to just extend it a little bit. But when we talk about what the Bucks did to James Harden tonight, and again, maybe he wasn't 100%, I'm not sure, but you take it on face value because at the start of the second quarter, he scores 7 straight points. He hits that 3 that you were talking about, and he was chirping a little bit. He was feeling pretty good, and he was like, all right, now I'm going to take over this game. At that point, Jrue Holiday was out of the game. Bud brought him in exactly as Harden had that 7th point in a row. Jrue came into the game. He had those back-to-back steals where clearly they came into this game and said, okay, what is James Harden going to do? He's going to get around the screen and he's going to throw a bounce pass. Or he went around the back the second time. And both times he just threw it straight into the mitt of Jrue Holiday and he just grabbed it and took it down the other end. Then he had that play where he could have easily gone in for the layup or the dunk, dumped it back to Giannis. I know you were loving that, Frank, in the extra points there for
perfect.
Giannis.
Get Jrue an assist. You get Jrue an assist. You get well, not cheap, but a basket that you just get for running hard. So yeah, that of course just made my heart sing.
Well, it was a beautiful stretch in this game. They did sort of change the course of the momentum there in the second quarter as well. But it was just a reminder, and we laughed about the fact that I did the solo podcast last week where the headline was, is Jrue Holiday's scoring struggles a concern? And one of the points I made is that I still don't think, and it's not to say he can't have 30-point playoff games. I've seen it before, and hopefully he does. But his ability to just change the course of a game defensively, to me, is still the most important element that he brings to this team. And being able to put him on a guy that wants to get a little bit physical like James Harden, I just thought, while it was a job, no doubt, and what they were able to do for Harden, Jrue's just making individual ridiculous plays like that. It's beautiful to watch. It's really, really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think Philly had 11 turnovers, so it's not like they had like some crazy number of turnovers or anything like that. I mean, that's a pretty solid night in terms of ball security.
5 for Harden.
But it felt like there were more pick six plays. Brook or Jrue with the 4 steals. It did feel like the Bucks were able to attack them in transition. That's been something that Philly has been called out for during the year a lot. Especially Embiid's not a guy who's getting back particularly well on defense. Harden is world renowned for not caring about transition defense. And those are your 2 best players. So I thought the Bucks did a nice job sort of taking advantage of that. Obviously, first of all, you start with, yes, getting steals that lead to breakaways. Those are pretty convenient to get. But even with Giannis, nice job, as he always does, right? I mean, Giannis obviously in transition is a monster. But especially with Philly, that's when PJ's in the game. PJ obviously has a good track record of at least being an annoyance to Giannis. You've got Embiid as the back line. They're not an easy team necessarily to break down in the half court. So for Giannis to be as aggressive as he was in transition, I thought that was important. And sometimes it's just honestly just running the floor, right? I mean, you talked about the time he runs the floor and Jrue gives him, the big dunk, or another time there was the steal, and I think it was Jrue. I think it was on one of Drew's steals, I want to say. He throws it ahead, and Javon Carter. Of course, Javon can make Giannis. Nobody makes a transition play awkward the way Javon Carter does. He got in front of it. It was like a touchdown pass to Giannis. Kind of Javon gets in front of it and hands it off just kind of awkwardly, and Giannis is able to finish for the layup. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was part of what kind of really worked nicely for the Bucks today. And again, mean, it's funny. I mean, we talked about Brook and his 20-point scoring performances. It's wild. I mean, he scores 21 points on 9 out of 13 tonight, just 1 out of 2 on threes, so 8 of 11 on twos. Had a three that should have counted, wiped out on just a
Oh my
dumb
God.
charge call. Like Giannis, and the game was pretty much over at that point, right? In the fourth
I
quarter.
don't even know how you see that though, Frank. Let's be honest. That was one of the worst flops I've ever seen. It's just a dumbass call after the pass anyway.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, it's not a flop in the sense that like Giannis's right shoulder connected with, was it Daniel House, I think? It was basically like shoulder on shoulder, but like the problem was like he wasn't, like if your right shoulder hits the other guy's right shoulder and knocks him over, like that's not like, the legal guarding position idea of a charge, right? Like if you go right through the guy's chest, yeah, okay, fine, right? But that was just such a like pre-programmed charge call, and Giannis had a nice kick out on it, and yeah, it should have been his 7th assist and Brooks, call it 24th point. But yeah, and I thought in general, I mean, while we're just talking about that, I mean, Giannis 13 of 17 from the field in this game and 6 assists, but I thought some of the interior passing, he had a couple really nice finds to Brook for layups. Again, just Brook working, the dunker area, working the baseline, making himself a very large human being around the basket. He had a nice alley-oop from Khris at one point, so just that's just one of those things, right? We've talked about, like, the Bucks are going to need, they're not going to need Brook to score 20 points every game, but they're going to need him to, be part of the answer when at times the offense gets stuck in mud a little bit and the 3-point shots aren't falling. Brook is one of the guys that you can use, whether it's as a pick and roll screener, whether it's, basically just sealing his man around the basket and, dumping it off to him and him using his touch, or using that little push shot as a safety valve thing. Obviously he's just been such a valuable weapon for them this year, and just fun to see him just continue to do it. And again, I mean, overall in this game, right? I mean, Embiid, 28 points on 25 shots, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, only 1 turnover for Embiid, but he had 4 fouls as well. No blocks, no steals. Brook amazingly wasn't credited with a block in this game, so neither Embiid nor Brook credited with a block, but Brook, those 21 points plus 12, just 2 fouls. Pretty much. I mean, he basically, I mean, he was more effective than Joel Embiid today, right? I had to say, like, oh, he just like totally outplayed him, but I mean, what would you rather have, 21 points on 13 shots or 28 points on 25 shots, right? I mean, that's a really good night at the office from Brook. And again, like, there is no such thing as like an Embiid stopper, like when to really slow him down, like you have to just gang tackle him, which I think teams like, Miami and Toronto, like there are more teams that just swarm him and force him to get rid of the ball. Bucks really didn't do a ton of that tonight. And so again, it was just basically them saying, like, all right, we'll kind of let you get shots that are not layups, but shots that, you can make. But we'll kind of live with you taking those, foul line jumpers, and we'll live with not putting you on the free throw line. So obviously it was good enough. And Philly, especially after last week, right? They give up, what do they give up? 136 against the Pacers, and then 140 the next night against the Celtics. Yeah, the defense has had some better days than what we saw last week. So it was nice to see the defense rebound a little bit and deliver, a good performance. Pretty much, everybody but Maxey, they did a nice job on in terms of kind of containing and look at the 3-point numbers. I mean, the Bucks were 10 for 29, 34%. Philly was 12 to 36, 33%. So it's not like, there was some big 3-point variance here that told this story. I think those are always the games that I feel best about, is when you don't need to hit a bunch of threes and get really hot from 3, even though they started that way. But that's not why they won this game, right? They won this game because kind of did everything else better than Philly. And obviously 13-point margin honestly probably wasn't the did not tell the story of how uncompetitive it got in the fourth quarter. Bucks only had 21 points in the fourth quarter, which kind of surprised me when I was looking at it. But when you factor in that Giannis pretty much sat the final 5 minutes, and they didn't have to bring him back in, and they went to the garbage time unit late, it kind of makes a little more sense. So put it in the bank, and obviously 56 wins now, pretty damn impressive. And now it's just a matter of closing out the season and trying to hang on to that two loss advantage you have in the standings over Boston.
Even though it got a little bit close in the third quarter there, as I look at the box score right now and it says 0 lead changes, that's what you like to see if you're a Bucks fan. They led from start to finish, which is really good. Just quickly on Brook Lopez, I want to get to PJ Tucker. I'm going to ask you about the foul that PJ had on Giannis, so we're going to talk about that coming up here. But Brook Lopez offensively, it's kind of funny when those two play each other, Lopez and Embiid, as you pointed to. The Bucks kind of attack Embiid a little bit. But Lopez, the way that he tries to score and he can draw those fouls and he sweeps his arm, it's actually there's a bit of Embiid about the way that Lopez likes to play the game offensively as well. But you're right, the history suggests that the Bucks are, whether it's by design or Embiid feels more comfortable, I'm not sure, but he has taken a lot more jump shots against the Bucks than he normally does against other teams. In the 5 free throw attempts, as you pointed to, you'll take that every single night of the week, particularly when Giannis down the other end draws a pump fake and knocks down the jump shot as well, which I was laughing. I was loving that moment there during this game as well. All right, we're going to get to PJ Tucker and that flagrant foul on Giannis after we talk about Built March Madness. Now, it's not March anymore, but I did just go on the website, and you can still go to builtmarchmadness.com to check out the brackets that is getting us to the ultimate Built Bar that is going to take out this bracket. And you can check out the competition they've got running over there on Built Bar. If you haven't tried Built Bar yet, you've simply been missing out. It's the best protein bar ever. They're so amazing. You won't think that they're good for you, but the calories are low, the protein is high, all the good stuff, which is just really boggles the mind considering it is covered in 100% real chocolate. Some great flavors over there, from the traditional protein bars to the puffs as well. I like to get into the coconut flavors, but there's cookies and cream, all sorts of crazy stuff over there. So go check it out at built.com or go to builtmarchmadness.com right now to get your votes in. We're down to the final 4 in the Built March Madness bracket. This is far more exciting than the actual real stuff on the basketball court. So go check out Built Bar, and you can thank me later for that. I think earlier in the season, I think we might have disagreed when the Bucks played the Sixers, and I said, I don't think Giannis had too many issues attacking PJ Tucker. And you said, I don't know if he's been as aggressive as we've seen in the past, particularly the first game against Philadelphia. I'll give you that. I think he only took 7 or 8 shots or something like that. Tonight was a little bit different. He went at PJ a few times and seemed like he wanted to score over him. And in the fourth quarter, I think it was the fourth quarter, PJ said, I'm just going to body check you to the floor. And it was intentional. I don't know. I mean, it's PJ Tucker. We know him well enough. But the fact that he was surprised that it was a flagrant foul call was hilarious to me, because he literally came in with the forearm and just shoulder charged Giannis as he was going to the basket. Now, I don't think it's the dirtiest of all time plays, but he knew what he was doing, and it was a clear flagrant foul to me. Am I looking at that through biased eyes?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if that call went against the Bucks, I'm sure Bucks fans would complain about it.
Well, you have to at least try and. He wasn't trying to do anything other than foul him. So
yeah, I mean, I think part of it too was just the way that Giannis fell, and the fact that he was attacking the way he was, and then he kind of gets sandwiched. Kind of made it a bit more dangerous. So yeah, I mean, I don't look at it as like some cheap shot or dirty or anything like that. I would say that especially this season, last season, it seems like those types of plays have gotten flagrant fouls called. And it's like in the grand scheme of thing, like the sport, right? I mean, people always like to play like, it's soft. In the 80s, people, clotheslined each other, and then, there was common foul. It's like, well, that's dumb. So I don't, particularly care that like we used to let players get away with being dirty, because we shouldn't do that. So I'm okay with, trying to legislate away that type of stuff. Because nobody wants to see guys hurt, especially star players hurt on plays like that. So I'm fine with it. I'm not gonna act like I'm kind of riled up about it, but yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things, and it came obviously at a time when the Bucks were up pretty big anyway, so it wasn't like some huge momentum swinger or whatever it might be. It does remind me though, maybe it's kind of hard to pick a favorite Giannis play, because he had some impressive ones tonight, but maybe my favorite one. Can you think of what let me ask you, Kane, what was your favorite Giannis move? Because mine came in the fourth quarter against an old friend of his who's not really a friend at all. But did you have a favorite?
Well, I think what
Can
you're
you guess
talking
what I'm
about
thinking
is
about?
he gets the ball on the baseline and he's already got a taste for that turnaround jump shot. And we've seen him do it before. He knocked down one just prior to this and he got old Jim Bob Harden biting and then spun baseline and threw it down for the jam. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
it was a beautiful step through. He got PJ on his on the glamour shot, short baseline fade away. And especially when the game is Bucks are up by double digits. I'm okay with the Giannis glamour shot at that point. So the fact he hits that and then they get a switch, Harden's on him, and he's able to get the catch, immediately turns, keeps that pivot foot, pump fakes, Harden bites, and yeah, the step through move. And again, it's like, how many human beings can take a step through and just immediately dunk, right? Like these are kind of things where Giannis's tool set, long strides, just sort of allow him to laugh at the laws of physics and cover ground that pretty much nobody else can. So that was definitely a really fun one. The Jaden McDaniels dunk to end the third quarter, that one was also pretty damn good, since that one, again, was that 7-point run from him to put the Bucks up 96-82 going into the fourth, and again felt like the exclamation point response to Philly getting it pretty close there. But that was a lot of fun. I know we mentioned Bobby Portis earlier. Can we have a brief Bobby Portis segment? Because I do want to shout out Bobby Portis.
Yeah, man, let's get into it. Particularly Willie's ability to knock down that baseline little push shot. And I don't know if you want to tie this into it. You take it where you want to go, but George Niang really hurt the Bucks last time they played, and tonight the Bucks were abusing that man defensively on repeat.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Bucks at times, doubling Harden or sending extra bodies. It felt like last game George Niang was always the guy who ended up being open. Tonight,
yeah,
I didn't really notice George Niang on that side of the ball at all. He was 0 for 2 in 17 minutes, -10. I mean, him only getting up 2 shots in 17 minutes is probably the most surprising thing to me, right? You think of him, he's obviously a guy that is not bashful, a skilled offensive guy, but look at his box score: 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, zero turnovers. Hey, but on only 1 personal foul. But yeah, I mean, that was a night and day difference from him. And McDaniels as well, 0 for 4, didn't score a point, -9 in 14 minutes. He was a guy that hurt the Bucks, had that big put back dunk in the last game. He's definitely got talent, right? He's got physical tools. Mm-hmm. Him and his brother. I always mistake Jaden and Jalen. His brother plays for the Timberwolves and is the better player, but McDaniels is also an interesting kind of toolsy, very Morey type of guy to go after. But yeah, I thought Bobby Portis just 8 for 11, 2 for 4 from 3, 18 points +6 in 28 minutes. And the block he had, I believe it was on Tyrese Maxey, right? Maxey drove, and I believe it was Maxey that Portis just like swatted the ball out of bounds on, which, as much as we love Bobby, the interior defense, not generally pretty good, not generally one of his strong suits, not generally the reason you've got him out there. But the fact that you were able to play him, there were short periods where he had to defend Embiid. And I thought, there was that stretch after the Bucks got out to the big lead. I think it was in the second quarter. Was it? And I don't know if it was the end of first or sort of second quarter, but we saw them go to that zone for a short period. And, we've seen it, right? I mean, like pretty much any NBA team, the zone is a wrinkle that can kind of throw you off your game a little bit, right? I mean, again, they're pros. They should know how to attack a zone, et cetera, et cetera. But I just think Bobby's so valuable against something like a zone, because when he does get a catch, and whether it's on the perimeter and he takes a dribble in to get into a mid-range push shot, or whether he's catching at the foul line, the fact that he's got that touch, like him and Brook, right? Like they both have really good sort of touch throughout, sort of all over the court, really. But it's just one of those really useful kind of skills for him to have. And remind me back of Game 6 of the NBA Finals. I think he had 2 baseline jumpers in that decisive fourth quarter against Phoenix that were just huge buckets. I mean, he was a massive part of the Bucks. Again, we've said it before, but we'll say it again. He was a massive part of the Bucks winning games 5 and 6 against Phoenix in the NBA Finals. And again, there's going to be nights where Bobby is not going to play a lot, probably, especially with Jay Crowder available and Brook and Giannis, obviously, being your first choice guys, your two starters. But it's just really useful to have Bobby be able to, especially give you that offensive shot in the arm. So shout out to Bobby Portis. I thought this was actually a pretty solid effort from him defensively as well. And, again, he's had obviously a really key role for this team as a sixth man. I don't really have us any like strong, he should be the sixth man of the year thing, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Like he's such a, especially think about regular season, right? Just having a guy who his durability, the fact that he can play both big spots and just night in and night out, he can give you offense when, you don't have to create all those shots for him, right? He's a guy that can go throw the ball in the post, give him the ball on a kick out, attack a closeout, or just hit a three. He's just been such a useful guy, just being able to eat innings, right? And especially last year, right? I mean, think about the fact that the Bucks were able to be as successful as they were last year with Brook Lopez missing most of the season. I mean, again, Bobby deserves a ton of credit for being that guy that was able to step in and just eat innings. And we see it when Giannis rests, right? It's no coincidence that Bucks are really good when Giannis rests, because Bobby just says, all right, I'm going to go give you, 18 to 20 points. I'm going to play my 32 minutes tonight because we need that. And, nice to see him do it against a really good team that, could be a team that you play in the second round or possibly, probably not the second round, but probably, potentially in the conference finals. I hope you don't get him in the second round. I hope it's a conference finals opponent in Philadelphia.
All right, just a couple final notes from this one. Grayson Allen obviously tweaked his ankle and left the game early and didn't return. It won't surprise anyone that Bud did not have an update on his injury post-game, but we'll see how that goes. The Bucks aren't playing until Tuesday night. They've got Washington in Washington. Then they'll come home for a back-to-back against the Chicago Bulls. So only 4 games to go in the season. 2 games up on the Boston Celtics now, but as we know, they don't have that tiebreaker. So, yeah, the Bucks have got to win. You win 3 of those, you're obviously okay. That would be the plan. Take care of business in this Washington and Chicago game here later this week. The other one was obviously Thanasis didn't play. He was suspended for that little headbutt on Blake Griffin from the last game. So he'll be back for that game against Washington on the bench, no doubt about that. All right, check out the Locked On game. Go on.
One thing just to talk about. So Grayson Allen, I mean, I don't think he's playing on Tuesday, right? It was it wasn't the nastiest turn of an ankle you see, but like that's the kind of game, that's the kind of ankle turn that you expect guys to miss time for. He's been pretty much a 0 the last 3 games offensively. I think he's scored 3-3, and now tonight 2 points in 20 minutes. So it's not like he's been producing at a high level, but obviously he's a guy that Bud has been loyal to as a starter this season. We mentioned it the other night. As far as the bench rotation goes, Bud is not playing 11 or 12 guys right now. I mean, he has a 9-man rotation right now. Again, could vary game to game, but Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis off the bench, Javon Carter, Joe Ingles, the other 2 guys. So that's a 9-man rotation. Pat Connaughton, conspicuously 1 minute of garbage time. Wes Matthews, more understandable because it's been the story all year. Just the 1 minute. Dragic, Beauchamp, they also got in for some of the garbage time. But an interesting opportunity here for particularly Pat Connaughton. I would assume Pat Connaughton is the guy that is going to, take the Grayson Allen minutes. Whether he starts, I don't know. They may opt, obviously, to start Javon Carter. They could do some different things. But I don't know. Any thought from you as far as potential significance here of, and there's not much time left in the season, right? Like, who knows? Grayson Allen could miss the next 3 or 4 games, which would be the rest of the regular season. What do you kind of see as far as potential impact on rotation and who may benefit from that?
Yeah, if he's gone, Pat would be the guy that I would suspect that would come in and play, just because they actually kind of bring similar things to the table. I think historically you would say Pat is a better defender, but his 3-point shooting has been down this season. But they do a lot of the little things that I think for the most part go unnoticed. And that's why I've tried to praise Grayson Allen for different things. And he actually twisted his ankle doing one of those little things by diving up for an offensive rebound that created another possession. So he was doing something that I think obviously Bud takes pride in and probably why he's been playing. And then you just trust him as a shooter more than Pat, even though that he hasn't been knocking him down of late. So, yeah, Pat makes sense for a more similar type player. But, hey, he struggled from three. Frank, we've been talking about it for a while. Outside of one game against Utah, it's been a real battle.
Yeah, 34% from three for Pat.
It doesn't feel like that, though, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it feels worse, doesn't it? But he's had some streaky, games where he's made them of late. So, again, I'm if you had to go into the first round of the playoffs and Grayson Allen still wasn't, ready to play, I don't think any of us would be particularly concerned about that. I think obviously we have some questions even about Grayson, how he matches up with some of the top teams in the East. But obviously you want to have all these guys healthy. But again, this is why you like having depth, so that you can say, oh, we don't have Grayson Allen. Okay, Pat Connaughton, Wes Matthews, step on up, and here's your chance to make an impact. So curious if one of those guys, Pat would be I'd say the leading candidate to start in Grayson's place, unless they were to go with Javon, who again, we've obviously seen Javon start a lot this season as well. But at least you have some optionality, and let's cross our fingers that this is the last of the Bucks injuries that we see in this regular season. Because let's just have a healthy playoff run. Let's not spend the summer playing what if about this guy if he hadn't missed that series or whatever it might be. Not a fun way to spend a summer. So fingers crossed Grayson is feeling better sooner rather than later, and obviously that the rest of the guys avoid anything here heading into the postseason.
No doubt. All right. Check out the Locked On Game to Game podcast. Get your news, stats, info, scores, analysis from around the NBA, all the action, every game from the local hosts across the network. It's a pretty cool podcast and easy to consume. Little 60-second grabs from all the hosts. So it's a nice way to catch up on all the NBA action. That's a Locked On Game to Game podcast on your Locked On NBA feed. Additionally, this is the podcast you really want to care about, though, and you really want to subscribe to and comment, drop a like, all those things. Free to do so. We appreciate it. It helps us. Let us know what you thought about this performance tonight against Philadelphia. Are you feeling a bit better than you were 2 days ago? I assume everyone is. As I said, a back-to-back later this week. We'll have podcasts right throughout the week. 4 games until the playoffs start. So we are really getting towards the serious stuff now. Really excited for that. Locked On Bucks will be with you throughout the postseason run. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.